Okay. So as usual, uh, uh, we are still going to continue our multi-threading. Today also let's go some more example, right?
Right.
Whatever we did yesterday,
Right.
and we are also going to understand there are some major problem in the multi-threading. Okay, we till now we have only cover and discuss the benefit, advantage, right, of the multi-threading. We also have to think what the drawback, what the problem if we are going to use the multi-threading, right?
Right.
And what the kind of a possible solution, what kind of solution we have, right? So today we're going to discuss one basic problem about the multi-threading. So let's. So notice last time say कि whenever multiple thread start, and as per the theory say thread is the lightweight process, or you can say why, because whenever our JVM service start, JVM process start, they are allocating some memory, right? That is the heap memory. Okay, heap memory. So whenever we you say Java and your program name, whenever you start at that times one JVM process going to start, right? JVM process. At the time of startup, we are configuring what is the memory our JVM can use to run the program. That memory known as a heap memory, right? And
Heap.
heap memory,
Heap memory. Yeah.
a heap memory. This is the part of your actual RAM memory, but logically, as Java as a programmer say, this is the heap memory. But logically, actually, this is the RAM memory. Okay, whatever your RAM in your system, right?
Right.
But currently, let's in my machine we have a 4 GB RAM. Okay, so surely we cannot allocate 4 GB to my Java JVM process, right? Because in our operating system, lots of other things also going to run, like IntelliJ going to run, Chrome going to run, media going to run, right?
Right.
So surely whenever we start JVM, some part of your uh, memory, like 4 GB, 8 GB, whatever, you can configure. We configure 1 GB. So whenever our JVM start, 1 GB of RAM is allocated to the my Java process, and this is in the Java programming language. You say just heap memory, right? So whenever we say start main application, so in main application you say कि one main thread is started, like a main method or main thread, right? The one thread is started. Whatever written inside the main method, whatever written inside the main method, one by executed. Whenever they are going to create some object are writing some value. So they need the memory. Like whenever you create the new employee object, let's give one class employee, and you are creating 10 employee object. So 10 employee object cannot be stored in this stack. The whatever the main the method. So whatever the instruction you written here, they also need a memory to store and then execute line by line, right? This memory known as a stack memory, right? A stack memory. So this stack memory is for each thread. Let's say this is thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, thread 4. Whatever number of threads, each thread need a our stack memory. This is roughly near about 2 MB. Okay, 2 MB, near about 2 MB. So whenever you create one thread, it should require 2 MB, 2 MB, 2 MB for the code which they want to execute sequentially, right? But inside the code, inside the main method, I let's created the 10 employee object. So 10 employee object cannot store in this stack memory, right? They are going to store the heap memory. Okay. So whenever you are creating any object using the new keyword, right? Maybe employee object, department object, any object, that's always go store in your heap memory, right? Heap memory. And these threads can access this heap object. So problem here in the multi-threading, whenever you start thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, both threads are sharing this heap memory, right?
Right.
And if let's possible, this is the thread 1, thread 2. If these threads have access the particular object A object, right? A same object can be accessed by the thread B, right?
Mm,
So in this case, sometime we are facing problem. These threads modify some value in this object, but this thread getting the updated value. But his thread is not interested. My value can one modify, right? So this is the problem in case of your multi-threadings, because your heap memory is share between the across multi-threading, and one threads can modify some value that is impacted the functionality of another threads. Okay, let us example. Let's maybe hey, this is the creator the employee object. They have one employee object. This thread going to set employee age at 26, right? And this thread come and they are going to set the 36, right? And later part, this thread assumption I am set 26, and later part I am getting 26 age. But whenever they are reading from here, they are getting 36. So this thread is very uncomfortable. Why I am getting 36? Because I set the 26. Because this thread don't know the thread, this another threads are modify my shared object.
right.
So this is the one of major problem in multi-threading. Shared resources can be modified by one threads that will impact the functionality of another threads, right?
Right.
Good example. Let's write some code and understand how the impact problem happen. And later part will discuss what the possible solution. How this thread ensure this is my object, no one can read them. Yeah, no, let's someone can read, but someone cannot modify them, right? We have not any problem. This is my shared object. Any thread can read. Read have no problem. But I don't allow all the threads simultaneously come and modify, right?
Right.
So only problem when we have one object that is shared between the multiple thread, and if all are reading, there is no problem. Good, all threads working fine. But some threads are intentionally going to change the value. That is the problem. It might be another thread don't want to the value must be changed, right? So this is the one of the major problem in case of multi-threading, right? So let's write some example and understand how the value change by one thread to another threads, right? And how we can fix them. What the possible fix? It's clear what is the problem
Yeah.
in multi-threading,
So uh, one thread can change the resource value of
right? Shared
a
object.
shared
Yes.
resource.
Okay. Here resource means your Java object. What is the object means? Employee class, department class,
Right.
math class, A class. These are the class, and after class you can create the object.
Right.
The
Right.
object is in the case of multi-threading terminology used as a resources, right? Might be one object I can pass to the thread one, a same object and pass to the object two, right?
Yeah.
So let's write some code and understand. So here, whenever I'm talking resources means object. Means
Right.
we create one object and that object can be accessed by the thread 1 and thread 2, thread 3. Why they are accessed? Because object always created in the heap memory. A heap memory is a shared memory between all your threads. Let's say you create 10 threads. 10 threads are sharing the same memory, right?
Right.
That's good. Let's till now any confusion? Shared memory
No.
means just heap memory, because JVM, whenever you start JVM, only one main memory, one portion of the main memory allocated while the startup of JVM process. That is known as a heap memory. And Java, all the objects are allocated in the heap memory only. Whenever you create any new main, new sample, new employee, new test, all the object required memory, that memory are stored in your heap memory, right?
Right.
And whenever let's keep thread T1 and thread T2 at T3, whenever they can also create object, right? So whenever they create object, they are going to store in the heap memory. And this heap memory is shared by the all the threads. The any threads can read your object and can modify, right? So let's look how we can address them and what the possible. So by default, what Java say as possible whenever you are creating any Java object, okay? Java object. Let's keep once you created, and after that you allow anyone can read. There is no problem. But don't allow any kind of operation or method that can modify your state, right? If your object is only read only, means your object is perfectly fine to read by any number of thread, right? So this is the one solution. Ki whatever the object I am creating, this object is never modified. Once created, they can only option to read them, right? This is known as the object which are the read only object. Means we have option. We can create object that only read mode, right? So all the objects which are in a read mode, there is no problem in the multi-threading. So generally, basic guidelines, whenever you are going to pass object from one thread to another thread to another thread, please ensure that your object is in read mode. Means ki once you created object, after that no one going to change. Look like we have a understand the constant variable, right?
Right.
Constant variable. Once you can declare one variable x as a constant and give the value 20, and once you initialize, after that the 20 cannot be changed. So anyone can read thread 1, read thread 2, read thread 3, read thread 4. There is no problem. Read only. So all the problems of this multi-threading can be avoided if our object is in read mode. But reality in the application, many times we have to change the object, right? Let us we created one employee object. Employee object cannot be mutable because year by year employee's salary going to increase, right?
Right.
So salary must be modified, age must be modified, year by year employee age going to increase, right?
That's right. Yeah.
In a real application, many object where we cannot say ki object is the always read mode. After creation, sometime we need to modification. So we have to take in care how we can handle those, right?
Yeah.
So in short, whenever you are creating the Java object can be two mode. One is the only read only mode, another is the read and write both, right? So generally, read and write is the very common terminology and used by the file system, right? In the Java terminology, we are not saying ki object read only, say immutable object. Immutable object or mutable object, right? So this terminology sometime we hear ki your object is the immutable object or your object is the mutable object. Mutable means read write both operations they have. Immutable means only read operation they have. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So this terminology many times when we are going to read the multi-threading, we are taught that this object is immutable or this object is mutable. Very good example our string class. String class is immutable object. This string class is immutable class. Good example. String is once initialized, this cannot be modified. So you are confused how it's possible, right? Many times we modify string, right? Let's look. Let's say I create here a string name, okay? Name. And name is equal to John, okay? Okay. So notice this name we can create. Now let's do uh name dot. So I am print here name printed. What happen? I say name dot two uppercase, yeah, two lowercase. So what do you think? This is modified or not modified after this?
Modified.
Let's check.
We also covered this in the past.
Let's check, na.
Okay.
So notice this is no modification because this object once in slice you cannot modify any character here. So only one option we have to, again you have to re-initialize this name to this. Agar if you like write this way, right? Means you say कि whatever this name object. So notice here कि whatever this is the name variable are created in your stack memory, right? Name variable, name variable. This is the object. The object go store in the heap memory, right?
Right.
Heap memory. So here name John. Johns are created and they are referencing to the name variable. This is the name variable, right? Here say print the name. Name, what is the name? Name refer to the John. The Johns are display here, right? Again say name dot two uppercase. So what happened here? This string object are immutable. You cannot change. Then what compiler say? They again create the new object and say this is John is the uppercase. Okay, John. But this till now this object are these operations are not modified on this object. Due to that, whenever I run, you notice this is the not modified. Okay? Because this name dot two uppercase are not going to the change the existing value of your John. Right? Here your name variables, the John is the object. John is the object, okay, in heap memory, and this is the good till now. And whenever say print, it will print from here. What is the John? Here say name dot to uppercase. This to uppercase going to uppercase, but not in the actual object of this string. They are going to create another object, and whatever the uppercase like John, they are created new, right? But here I am not referencing this object to the anywhere, right? I'm not referencing. So this value are going to destroy. And after that, again I print name. Name is still pointing to this variable, right? So still we are printing the John is the as previous value. Is it clear?
Yeah.
John string object is the immutable object. That means कि once this is created, this value cannot be modified. But this variable you can change. This name variable you can change. Say currently this name variable pointed to this object. Now say no, don't point here. You can point to different object. So whenever you say here name equal to name dot to lowercase, right? In this case, you notice our name is changed, right? Name is changed because here you can change the reference of your name. So notice here, John is a small letter, right? So here, please note that this value is not modified. Please be answered. This is your allocated in the first type. Your this is the name variable, name and name are pointing to the first John. John is the here, right? John. Heap memory. This is the heap memory, right? And again say two uppercase. New object of string created John uppercase, right? Then again say print name. Again name printing the old one, right? Again say no two lowercase. Again new object created John all small letter, right? But this is you say कि whatever the value return name assigned to the name. This means कि this name currently pointing to the here, just drop them and name pointing to the here. Right? So this name variables now again I print, then say it's a John lowercase. So notice here internally in heap memory, heap memory, three objects created, one for the John, another for uppercase, another for lowercase. But currently, our this name variable is pointing to at a time only one object. Initially object to the here, now they are pointing to the here. So your whenever printing a name print like a John here. So string is by default implemented the concept of immutability. So always we learn example only in this format, right? So always we are thinking name can be modified, right? Is it clear? Any confusion?
No.
So let's another example. Here say, let's here say I am say don't assign, and here say let's name someone name dot concat. This is the one another function. Name Smith Mark. Okay, Mark. Okay. So here you say ki concat means they are going to append the value here name. But after this concat method again you print them. Still you are getting the no any kind of concat happen because name cannot modified here. But sometimes say no, I can take another variable string string name to lower, or similarly say or here say string name concat. Okay, and if you print this concat you can get the value here. Similarly name to to lower. Okay. So here our intention is that whatever the string class have a method, whenever you say to lowercase, concat, to uppercase, they are not changing the original object. They are created a new copy for you, right? Still notice our name is never changed. Name is never changed. Name is but lowercase can work. Concat can also work, right? So this is the one good example in our Java library. A string class is immutable, right?
Yeah.
And one thing you remembered, all the wrapper classes also immutable, like integer class, float class, double class, character class, long class. All the wrapper classes also immutable class, right? So these classes like string, all the wrapper classes, freely we can use in the multi-threading because these are only once created and never can be modified, right? If some operation like some this string class provide lots of method like uppercase, lowercase, concat, finder, right? All these operations work on the new copy of this original content. So now it's clear what do you mean by immutable object and what do you mean by mutable object. Because in coming classes these two concepts mutable object and immutable objects are really different the behavior of your multi-threading. If you are sharing object in the form of immutable, your object your program's behavior is always consistent. But in the multi-threaded environment if you are passing some object that's are mutable, that time you can say your application output can be changed. So the question, can we write my class as a immutable or not, right? How can I write? This is a string class written by the Java. So let's here I am going to write there. You are clear. Let's key class my mutable class. My mutable class. Okay. This is the one example. Let's we have only one field. Like you have integer data, right? And this is the private generally, right? And just let's set a constructor. This is the constructor. Let's do setter getter. Okay. and the setter getter. Let's do two string, right? Two string, okay. So now I created one class, my mutable. So let's this class how do. I write the mutable class equal to new. I pass the value initially 100, right? And I print this object. So initially this object have only data, that is the value 100. It's good, okay, 100. What happen? I say, hey mutable object, I have the method set data and check the 300, right? And after that again I print this. So notice this object are value changed from 100 to 200, right? Notice. So this is the mutable object. That means ki in your class, is there any method that change the, this is the method set data, this is the method which are changing your original value, right? Due to that, this kind of class known as a mutable class. That's are allow anyone can change the internal state. What do you mean by how to write? It's clear what do you mean by mutable class? Any class that have a set method or update method, modify method, which are modifying your state of the class, instance of the class variable, that is known as a mutable class. It's clear?
Yeah.
So let's write the how to write the immutable class. So let's class class and I say immutable. Okay, my immutable class. Okay, same example I write private integer and data, right? And here we have a constructor. So till now, and let's do to string method, right? Okay. So notice now we have a immutable class. And let's give the some example. My immutable class. Okay, immutable class and equal to new and immutable class and pass like 100, right? And I just print them. So immutable also have a 100. Okay, 100. But in this immutable class, there is a no any method like a dot set something, set value, a change value, right? There is no method something, right? So if any class that does not offer any kind of modification of your object, means once you created, you always only get. You have a method, you can get. Maybe here I can write only get method, right? Get, right?
Yeah.
I have a method get. I can get the value, okay, but we have not any I cannot return any method that can change my value. So such class, such object known as a your immutable classes. Okay,
So
so
the
yeah,
last point, what did you say? The last point?
last point say ki this is the my class. In this class there is no such method can modify this data, right? So
Correct.
this class known as your mutable class, immutable, sorry. Oh, spelling mistakes, refactor, rename it would be, I'm saying something, right? Typing something. This would be MY, okay? So in the last point, I'm trying to say we have an option. We can create my object. That object is the mutable object or immutable object. If your object is provide any kind of method like set value, that setter class going to change your instance variable this value, right? So this class is known as a mutable. It means anyone, anytime going to the change this value, right? And here say immutable. Immutables means once you created this object and value is 100. So always this value will be 100. Any times we can read or get, because there is no any method someone going to change this value, right? Because this data is a private, and private data member you cannot go to the change, right? Here you cannot say like data equal to 300, right? Because this private variable cannot access here, right? So we
Right.
have not any option to change this value. But this such value say is the immutable. The question, how I want to another object that contain a 200 value. I want to modification. So immutable principle say you want to another value, you can create new object. Why you are on modify the existing one? So here say, okay, I can give my immutable class another object and say new my immutable and pass the 300, right? And you can say now you have another object that have a 300 value. So here immutable principle say कि whenever you want to object with a different value, you can create the new different object. Why you are going to the modify existing object? Now we have a two object. One object have a 100 value, another object have a 300 value. Whenever you need 100 value, you can use this class. Whenever you want to 300 value, you can use this class object, right?
Correct.
But here in the case of mutability, you can create one object and initially we have value 100. But once I change, after that I have created the 300 value. But if I want ki what is my previous value, we have not any option. We cannot get ki our previous value is 100 because we can change the value, right? So both have a some use cases and both have a some situation. So we know sometime we are writing our class as a immutable, sometime as a mutable. Immutable is the preference way to writing class for multi-threading environment. Why? Because they have only read-only option. There is no any write operation. There is no any update operation. If we are shared resources, shared object, I am not providing any kind of update method. All the threads are working fine, right? No one can change it. So
Yeah.
till now it's okay. What
Yeah.
is the mutable object? What is the immutable object? Right?
Okay. Yeah. So immutable object means the value is fixed.
Fixed.
It's not like it will not
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. Cannot change the value. Yes.
Mm.
Like example, generally notice in each country I have a fixed location, longitude and latitude, right?
Right.
That not really change, right? If currently my position means my geo point, yeah, longitude, latitude, x comma y, they always be the same. Not daily basis going to change, right?
Right.
So similarly, some case our value is never change, right? And sometime value always change, like our time, current time always going to the changing. So we cannot create such object, right? So depend upon the use case. We are going to use sometime mutable, sometime immutable. Both are the useful, right? You cannot
Right.
say this is the good, this is the bad, this is the good, this is the bad. No. This is a different technique, different situation, different context. But multi-threading say, if possible, you can write your business logic using the immutable object. It's good. By default, lots of multi-threading problem you are avoided because you are using the immutable object.
Right.
Just preference way. But sometime our multi-threading application required some modification, change the shared object, right? Okay.
Right.
So now
Yeah.
let's move the our original. We have writing the some code where two threads are going to interfere to each other, right? And let's observe the output, right? So good example. Let's do here. So let us. I am going to create uh, two threads. One threads are let's simple. Objective is that I am going to create one thread responsible to just add number. Okay, add number.
Right.
Add number 1 to 1000, right? And I am going to create another threads. same add also going to add 1 to 1000 number, right? So once these two threads are work finally, this is the 1000 sum plus 1000 sum really should be the same, right? And and here I am going to share some common object, right, between the both, right?
Right.
Both are going to adding and the same kind of object, something shared.
Mhm.
So here shared means object. So let us example here, simply I write one class have a data class, okay, data class, and data class have a simply let's one uh, variable like integer x, right? Yes. Okay, we have only one data class. So this is the data class, means this is the one class, and here you can create like here say data equal to new data, and let's add the constructor, right?
Right.
Constructor, okay, and here say initially we have a data one, okay. This is the data one. In this way you can write or any simple, okay. This is the now data. So now they have a one function. Let's make as a private, okay,
Yeah.
and they have a one method get that return the get value, and one have a method add method. So void public, and let's void just add the number. Yeah, increment, okay, increment. They are just incrementing whatever the value have, whatever the value x, I am going to just x plus plus, right?
Right.
So we have a one such class. They have a one value, and they have a two method get the value, and one is increment, just increment the value, right? So let us example here. Uh, just let's two string, okay, two string, and here say if I print out data, and I can get data one, right?
Right.
And I'm trying to say this is immutable because now data is a one. Let's now I say data dot increment, right? And after that again I run this method. So this value from 1 to now it's a change to something 2, right? So the number
Oh,
of someone increment, the data is changed, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
So this is the data which is the mutable, means ki if anyone invoke the increment method, our value x is going to the change, right?
Right.
So it's good. Now let's keep, this is the shared data. I am going to pass in the two threads, okay? So let's do how to. So let us basic way how to write a method. I write a class basic way, and then my thread, okay. You can say extend thread class basic way, right?
Right.
And here my thread say I need a data object, okay, data, and here say constructor tell me the data, insert constructor. What is saying? I am saying this is the my thread. I want just this constructor, okay, and this is the data, okay. This data equal to data, okay. So this is the thread, okay, and data. Define this. What they are saying. No. Okay. So here, whenever we are writing thread class, what is the main logic? We have to override the run method, right?
Right.
Run method. And now in the run method, let's I run for loop, and I run from 1 to I less than, let's 10. Okay, I equal to 1 to, let's 100. Okay, 100, and semicolon I plus plus. And here I just say data dot increment function I can invoke, right?
Right.
And that's okay. And here have a method to get data. Okay, so notice this is the method. They have threads one data object. This is the object, and now we have a run method. That this is the code written inside the thread. Thread going to run and to print 1 to 100 time increment this value, right?
Right.
So now let's here, and I can create my thread equal to new my thread, right? And my
Right.
threads are expecting, here my threads are expecting data. So let's I say this is the one data one equal to new data, and just start with one, right?
Right.
Let's start with the zero, right? And I pass this data to the here, right?
Right.
And say, hey, my thread, can you start? And after that I say, hey thread, uh, uh, pass out your data, right? Dot data. What is your data, right? After one thread run, right? So whenever I start thread, start going to the call your run method, and run method what say? They have running 1 to 100 times and incrementing the value, right? Whatever the data they have, right? So
Right.
initially I pass data 0, and they are incremented. Let's see, run. So notice we have a data 0. Why? Let's say we are passing the data 1, and they are going to the here data. This data incremented. Let's here as out check the value of data, right?
Right.
Why not they're incrementing? At least one time each time they have to increment, right? So they are incrementing, right? They are incrementing, right?
Right.
But I am not getting the data. Why? This is the data. This is the data. So once I get data, it should return. Let me what they return. It should return value expectation. No, final data. Okay. Here, because we are not waiting our thread to complete, right?
Hmm.
Here we started in main method, and after that I just printing here. So before we have to check our thread are stopped or not, right? Once completed, I can ask get data, right? So here we
Just
have to
like
say, hey,
yesterday. Like
yes.
yesterday
So
you did.
here we are going to wait our this thread must be completed. So how to know? Thread dot join. Okay, join say
Oh,
if
okay.
you print just before, notice the before join before join, then we are getting data just as a zero, maybe thread not started, right? And
Right.
joins means they are ensuring that now your method is completed, and after the join, right? After join, okay. So sometime after before join, okay. And right, and I just comment out here, right? Dot net. So now I am going to start my one thread and say, hey data, this thread going to start, and before and after joining I am getting the value, right? So at least these threads are, notice before joining 0 and after that 99 value. Why not 10? Because we have start from 1 to 100, less than means 99 equal to, right? If you write equal to, that means they run till 100, right? So till now, this data object is only used by this only one thread, right? This data object I pass only one thread. What happened? I pass this data into two threads. Currently, we have a one thread, right? This is the thread one, and this is my data. I say, hey, this is the data. These threads are incrementing 100 times, right?
Right.
And after that, returning value. It's okay. One thread, there is no problem. What happen? I start on another threads, and I pass the same data to here also, right? They also trying to add 100 times. So 100 this and 100 this. So most probably two threads to set the value 200, right? Are you getting my point? We have a one
Mm.
data 0, and this data I pass to the one thread 1, another thread the two thread, and
Right.
each threads are putting 100 time increment, calling the increment 100 times. 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. You are getting the 100 value. And this is also doing the same work 100 times. So most probably, if you have a zero value and two times two thread doing 100, 100, the most probably your value should be 200, right?
Right.
Logically, right?
Right.
So as of now, you just run one thread and you notice I am getting just 100 value, right? One thread, there
Right.
is no problem. So let's I go start another thread similarly, right? Here not just one thread, I start one more thread, okay? And here say thread one, right? Thread one, right? And the same data I pass both. So notice here, this is our shared object, right? Shared
Right.
object. And creating one thread passing the same data, right? I am creating another threads, and passing the same data here. Notice here,
Right.
same data pass, right?
Right.
So this is the way how you can share your object between the threads. Notice whenever say here new this object going to create in a heap memory, right? Heap memory, because new you are creating object. Here data object created. This is shared by this is shared by this, right? Internally, this object is accessed from this heap memory. This object is accessed from heap memory, right?
Right.
So now the situation clear. We have a heap memory. Heap memory have a one data object that is a data object, and this object is now shared by the two object, two thread, thread one and thread two, right?
Right.
And let's run and check the output. And let's also join to the both. Okay, join this one as well, right? Method one, right?
Right.
Thread one. I am joining both threads. So here both thread started, both thread going to, but here I am waiting until both are not done, right? Both done, then finally I am going to the check output, right?
Right.
So let's comment out, let's comment out, let's comment out, and just after joining, I am just want to check the complete our maybe even so what is the my data itself? One thing, please note. Let's key. I'm just I'm not starting as of now. This one thing I'm trying to say here. This is my data. If I am printing here data as out, okay, my data one, and once I thread started and I am joining, and after that, let's I commented here, and I say just here printing again the same data. Okay, the same line here. Because we have a data, this data is modified by this thread, right? If you run, surely we are getting the data initially 100, and then this is the 0, then we are getting 100, right?
Right.
Data is changed by this thread, right? This is the one thread. Now I'm going to start another new thread, right? This thread started, and this thread also started, right? So what I did now, the same data I pass to the thread 1 and thread 2 threads, and say, ki, hey, thread start, and both I'm for joining, so that you can complete, so that I can get my data object again output, right?
Right.
And let's run the. So notice we are getting,
Oh, 200. So it's
yeah,
changed.
yeah, because one threads is the, this is the one threads, or this
Oh,
is another threads, right? Both are changing. This is the 100 time, this is also 100 time, right?
right. Right. So they changed the value.
Right, change the value, right? 200. So here It's okay till now.
Yeah.
Now I just change one thing here. In my data class, my data class, I'm changed from integer to, let's say, double. Yes, right? Nothing here. Okay. Now I change it to double, right?
Right.
Clear? There is no change. And if you run, let's clear. So now I'm saying, hey, I pass the double value. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. 0.0. And here let's check. Now you're getting double, right?
Right.
So here data depend upon thread is doing whatever your data you passing, right?
Right.
And if, even in this multi-threading here, I can say let's 10,000, right? Or you can say long. Whatever the data you can do, this is your option here, right? Here say long, okay? You do long, right?
Right.
There is no problem here. Just pass here. This is the 0, okay? And let's run. So here you notice the output. Let's. I am just going to the one thread. First, I am just start one, right? Stop one.
Right.
Okay. I am just not starting another one, not starting joining. Okay. And run. If we have a one thread, I just started one thread, and then I notice the value. What is the value? 10,000,
10,000.
right?
Yeah.
And if I start two thread, then what the value would be? Again, 10,000. That means output should be 20,000, right?
Hmm.
But notice, let's say again start second thread and wait for the output and observe the output. They are only 13,000. Why not 20,000? Here, problem our about the shared resources. This is the data, right? This is the data. This is
Yeah.
the data object and accessed by the thread 1 and accessed by thread 2, right? When these threads call increment, they are going to increment. They call increment, they are going to increment. Same time, this method also call increment. So might be increment, no, this plus plus is the three operation. You may say कि x equal to x plus plus. What do you mean by is x equal to
X
x
plus
plus
1.
1, right?
Yeah.
So whenever first this operation done and after that they are going to assigning, right? Here the two operation, first is the increment and then assigning here. So in this case, let's assume two threads come, thread 1 come and thread 2 come here. One are just plusing, someone again read this value x, old one. What happens scenario, x equal to x plus 1, right? Might
Right.
be case two threads try to x, let's initially x value is the here 100, right? 10. Now thread 1 come and thread 2 come, okay? Thread 1 doing x plus 1 means they are going to do 11, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And here then previous value say ki already they calculated x equal to 10, so they assign 10 but not assigning it 11 because this thread is done by another threads. So problem here ki whenever you have shared resources, both are trying to do plus operation same time. A plus operation is not atomic, might be case this is done by another thread, this is assignment done by another threads. So due to the conflicting problem, we are getting the data issue. Here our assumption output would be the 20,000. So notice why I type here 1,000. Let's say I pass only 10, and you notice it's work fine.
Okay. Okay.
No get 10 for 10, 10, 20
Yeah.
because
Why?
the threads is easily complete the job, right?
Okay. 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 I see.
Maybe in the case of 100, notice it will works. Why? Because 100 is very quickly operation done, right? 100, 100, 200, right?
Right.
In the case of 1000, whenever going to means each thread some taking time operations. Notice here still it's okay, right? Let's
Right.
1000, 1000, 2000. It's okay. Let's do one more, right? And now it's a problem. So sometimes like your notice here not 20,000, right?
Mm,
Because multi-threadings are racing to update this common value. Okay, and sometimes threads get a chance, sometimes wait. It's a shared resource, right? So
right.
this is
Right.
the problem of the multi-threading. If you test this code with the 1, 2, 10, 100, you can say my code is working fine, right? But sometime bigger data set, your data is inconsistent. Here there is no clue why happening, right?
Right.
Because here this is the basic problem of data, what say, sharing problem. Because the data is shared, this is the immutable data, right?
Yeah.
So this is the problem. So if you think something, let's say I want to sum of like 30,000. So one thread doing the summation of 10,000, one thread doing summation of 10,000, one another thread doing a summation of your third. The sum, okay, third thread. Okay. My assumption is that whenever writing code, these threads add the data from uh, 1,000, right? This data add 1,000, this data add 1,000. The total summation would be the 3,000, right? In this
Mm,
way, instead of saying, hey, only one thread doing 3,000 data summation, I can divide it into three part, right? Three threads. But for a smaller set, it's work. If 100, 100, 100. And finally, we are getting the 300, right?
right.
But in the case of bigger operations, you notice I am not getting the as expected output. Because the operation increment plus plus is not atomic operation. Atomic means this, notice here I'm not getting the 13,000, right? I am getting 21,000, but I have started three threads. Our expectation we can get at least 30,000 data, right?
Right.
So this is the major problems of your multi-threading. So question, how we can address them? Notice near about 20,000, but still something missing, right?
Right.
Some data loss, sometime might be it's work fine. So this is like 16,000. So strange, right? So this
Right.
is the
Right.
behavior I don't want, right? Sometime 50,000. But notice each threads are doing exactly 10,000. What is 10,000 operation, right?
Mm,
So what the each thread doing? Each thread calling this increment method. Increment have a method is a plus plus. A plus plus is not a single operation. Plus plus is the plus plus equal to two operation, right? X equal to x plus 1, right? And here x is the value, whatever the value. Here 10 value. Whatever thread 1 come read 10 value, reading the 10 value, but another threads at a time are modifying the 10 to 11, right? Let's example. Another threads are at the stage of modifying,
mm,
another threads are reading the value of x, right? Another threads
right.
are the assigning the value here. Three case possible. One threads are reading value, what is the value of x, right? Mind? And so this is a three operation case. So let's again understand why this is the problem come. Here say x plus plus. This means first the read the value of x. What is the value of x, right? What is the value of x? And then you do x plus 1. X plus 1, then do x plus 1, and then do whatever the x value, just modify here, right?
Right.
This is a three operation. So whatever the value x, first read and plus 1 and then assign, right? So this
Right.
is the one read operation, then plus operation, then write operation. So if you started multi-threading, so might be one threads are just here reading, one threads might be updating, one thread might be assigning value. Each thread have a different value, right? Because this variable is the allow to read any thread, right? So this is the problem of the multi-threading. Why? Each thread's trying to complete his job. In the case of hurry, let's say case here the value is the 10, right? And two case, thread 1 come and thread 2 come.
Right.
Okay, and let's keep thread 1, thread t2. Okay, t2 come first, t rate the value 10, right? And here say now they are going to increment the value 11, right? Correct. And here
Yeah.
this thread come, this thread next t1 thread now come here. So now this also read the value 11, 10, right? Because 10 have a this, right? 10. But now this t2 thread going to the assigned value here 11, right? And after that this, okay, already I read value 10, then I can increment value 11, 11, and they are also going to assign 11. The problem here, one value lost, maybe this value lost or this value lost, right? Because at time two threads, so there must be 11 and 12, right?
Yeah.
The problem here, at a time multiple threads try to read some different timing. This thread read first value 100, 10, then they incremented 11. Till now they are not assigning. Another threads come and read the value 10. And once this read, after that they are going to assign here, this become 11, right? But they have read the old value, 10 value, and 10 again plus 1, 11, again go assign to the 11.
Right.
So in this way, multiple cases our threads are skipping value, overwriting by existing value, right?
Right. Right.
So this is your multi-threading problem. So what is the solution? Best solution, I say, कि this is, I know this my operation x plus plus is not atomic operation, right? So I'm in anyhow I can allow, okay, let's keep three thread, thread 1, thread 2, and thread 3, right? So I'm saying कि any one can allow here, and if another try, just wait, right? Another try, just wait, because one is going to do plus plus, right? So once it's done, then say कि I'm released, then you can go. So this is the one basic guarding. Whatever the code you identify that is the problematic due to the multi-threading, you have to ensure that this code is accessed by only one thread at a time. So how to guard them, right? How to inform, hey JVM, hey Java Virtual Machine, I want this code should be executed by only one thread in the case of multi-threading environment, right? Currently, these increment methods are invoked by T1, T2, and T3 same time, right? Why? Because they have a shared resources. Because this data is the shared resources and they are read by these three threads, T1 thread, T2 threads, and T3 threads. This is also going to modify. This is also going to modify. This is also going to modify. Might be some data race condition, some value are we lost, right? So what is the solution? Best solution, I am going to say, hey, this would be safeguard. This is my critical code, and I'm say at a time only one thread can going to increment or decrement, right? So how to do? This is the known as a locking mechanism. What is known as a lock? So whatever the operation you think, this is the my method is the problematic. Or here the operation is not atomic. Means multiple thread try to increment and might be chance कि they are overwriting value to each other. So in this way, we can say simple. This is the uh, one thing. Notice Java, each object is allocated associated one lock object. This is the lock. Okay, look like understand lock in our real life. We have a room. This is the one room, right? Each room have a gate have a locking, right? So here says Java, each my object have a one kind of lock mechanism internally Java maintain. So if the threads they are going to access this room, they need a first key of this room, right? Once open the lock and then go and whatever you want to do here, and again done, then get back, right? So similar mechanisms like our room, lock, and key concept. Similarly here in the case of Java object. Java object use the same concept our society use. Like we have only one room, or you can say only one doctor. They have only one at a time. One patient can doctor can take only one patient at a time, right? So all the
Right.
patient just queue up, right? Once done, then release. Once done, then release. Once done, then release. In
Right.
this way, doctor can treat each and every person carefully, right? Similarly, here Java also say key. Java is each object have a one kind of a lock mechanism. If multi-threading environment, multiple threads come at the same time, they have to get the lock of particular key. If they anyone can get a lock, then they go enter and do plus operation and again return back. Next thread get a chance to do and get return back. Next thread get a chance to return back. So Java, this mechanism is a locking mechanism, ensuring that this my method increment methods are accessed by only one thread at a time. Question: why I'm focusing only increment? Because this is the method called by your run, right? This is thread, right? This method they are calling, right? So here, how we can get lock? Simple Java say you can use the synchronize keyword. This is the keyword indicate JVM, hey, anyone going to call this method, ensure that first they get a lock of this object, and once they get lock, then call this method. Once you writing this code, and if you run this code, we are getting properly values. Maybe in the multi-threaded notice here, always we are getting the same value, right? Here we are ensuring that our this synchronized method, this method increment is called by only one at a time. So maybe here one not maybe 10,000, you can say 100,000 is still its work fine, right? Notice.
Right.
So this is the one thing today we learn. Java, each object have a one kind of lock mechanism, and you can, if you want, this code is accessed by only one thread at a time, then you can just place synchronized keyword. Internally, all the things taken care by of locking, unlocking, releasing is the JVM itself.
Hmm.
If you're not writing this, in this case, your data can be inconsistent. Sometimes something, sometimes something, right? Here, 16,000. Sometime you are getting the 14,000, right? Sometime you are getting different, right?
Right.
Why? Because due to the race condition, each threads are trying to increment the value. They are overwriting each other value, right?
Right.
They are overriding each other value. Due to that, we are getting the less value. So you want know this is a situation, then we have to go use the synchronized keyword. Synchronized keyword indicate Java virtual machine. Hey JVM machine, this is the data class. As someone going to call this method, please ensure that any one thread going to call this method. No more than one method are going to call this, right?
Right.
Okay, and even let's hear, I can just check s out, and here say increment method, increment method call by let's call by that is thousands of log printed. Don't do. Okay, you can verify this is the call by different threads, and whenever you say synchronize, that means they are ensuring by the JVM this method is called by only one thread at a time. Is it clear?
Right. Yeah.
So today we discuss one of the core problem about the multi-threading is the shared object. Okay, okay. In today the case we have started thread one, thread two, and thread three. Right? Each threads are just adding 100 number, right? Incrementing. Here incrementing 100. Here incrementing 100, right? But
Right.
all three are incrementing the same object, data object, right? This is the data object. And due to this data object is shared between these three threads, thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, and all are trying to increment value, and each of other they are sometime they are going to override value of each other one, right? So this is the only problem because this data is the mutable. What happened? This data is the immutable data structure. There is no multi-threading problem. But in the case of data mutable, mutable data and shared, both means your data is the mutable and you shared across the multi-threading. If these two conditions meet, means ki here we have one data object and sharing the three condition. One is the shared meet and one thing data is the mutable. Then always you get the problem about the multi-threading. So how to avoid? You are avoiding, hey, this is my data object. I am going to say any one of them can use at a time. Don't use more than one thread, right?
Yeah.
That this is the solution. Lots of other solution we have to cover coming session, but this is the basic, most common problem about the multi-threading. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So let's do and practice. Okay.
Yeah. I have to practice this.
Okay. Then that's for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.